So it must feel like a big party almost, I imagine, in some ways, doesn't it?
Now the Italians are coming in.
And we can hear the bands there. We see the Italian Carabinieri band that's coming into the square as well. So I imagine it's adding to the festive atmosphere you're living there, isn't it? All right, Sister Nina, thanks for giving us that update there, and we look forward to connecting with you there again when possible. We know how it's a little tough with the cell signal there, given all the people communicating live on their cell phones and the networks there being a bit saturated. But thank you, and wonderful. And Sister Nina, by the way, this is your first experience of this type, isn't it? Your first conclave, and so it must be extra special for you. Wonderful. All righty, Sister Nina, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and we'll hope to touch base with you there shortly, okay? All right, in the meantime, good luck getting in the square there. All right.
Well, and continuing, as we mentioned before, the atmosphere, but also what we're seeing. You see the bands, Father, as you mentioned, now the Italians as well, coming up the stairs that we often saw the Pope Mobile drive up for general audiences. And shortly, we're not sure exactly when, but when the Pope comes out, there's a formula that is said in Latin, and for many of us, we might not have studied Latin in school. I mean, my Latin is quite rusty, so I don't know if maybe, Father, you know a bit more about what is going to be said, and for those who might not know, what is the formula? What is said?
Well, it says the proto-deacon, and it's Cardinal Monberti is the proto-deacon right now, will come out and say, I have an announcement of great joy, and then he says, we have a Pope, Habemus Papam. I saw some signs there, and they didn't have the correct conjugation of Papa, but that's okay. The fact is, the news is and it's almost universal language now in terms of communicating the fact that we now have a Pope.
And then after that, he announces the name.
The name, yes, in Latin. And so I'll tell you a funny story of that too. A friend of mine was in the square when Paul VI was elected, and he was standing. He's from the U.S. He was a student at the North American College, and no, it was when Paul II was elected, and he was standing next to an Italian woman, and they announced that the Pope was from Polonia, and this Italian woman crossed herself and said, "Grazie a Dio da Bologna."
Da Bologna.
That guy from Bologna. Yes. You can hear Polonia in Italian meaning Poland.
Yeah, it's tricky. If you don't know Italian or Latin, it might be a bit confusing. But no, it's extra special, and as you mentioned, I mean, I remember watching with some of my colleagues here at the start of this week some of the compilations from the Habemus Papams that we have video or audio of, which is only in the last, just over 100 years that we have video, and it's been really interesting because whether you know Latin or not, you know that phrase and you know what it means, and so it's a big signal to a new chapter in the church.
And I'm thinking that the last announcement was by Cardinal Jean-Louis Touron, whom I worked with a great deal.
Oh, wow.
And he made that announcement, and it was so good. And he's gone home to heaven, but I'm sure he's now rejoicing once again tonight.
That's right. I remember him very well when he announced introduced Pope Francis, and I remember even hearing his name. I was running, and I looked it up very quickly because, as always, it's a surprise.
Right.
It's a surprise,
and you don't know, because we have such a list of people, and as we've said throughout this entire Smoke Watch, that it's the Holy Spirit that guides the decision, and so we don't know to that moment.
Here we see a formation of the Italian military bands,
Yes. Wow.
Guardia Finanza, Carabinieri, and then of course the gendarmes, the Vatican Gendarmerie, their own band, and then we have the Swiss Guards all in position there. We see the usually at a point after the Pope appears, so there'll be a mutual salute of both national anthems
Here's
and hymns.
the retired
Papal preacher.
Papal preacher, and also then there's
Cardinal Raniero canta la messa, looking at his phone there, we see.
Technology.
And then Capuchin Cardinal there.
and also Cardinal Sean from Boston.
Exactly. Exactly. Sean O'Malley. So here we are. The bands are playing. Introduction here to the Vatican anthem. Oh no, the Italian anthem.
That's true. The hymns, the songs will be going on until we hear that famous line of Habemus Papam when we see the Pope come out on the balcony.
So we're hearing notes from the Italian national anthem. And we've just heard those, the Vatican hymn and then the Italian national anthem played. Mutual salute between the two groups of bands. And now the mutual salute and greeting of both. This is just like when we see at Easter and at Christmas,
the Urbi et Orbi.
During the Urbi et Orbi, when the Pope gives his blessing to the city and to the world. And before that, his Christmas or Easter message. So the bands are lined up there as we await the curtains to be pulled back there from the central loggia of St. Peter's Basilica there.
And even though the Holy See is a separate country, it's important for Italy to be involved in this too, because he's also the Bishop of Rome. So it's his flock is in Rome as well.